Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast, the Project Investigation Collaboration, the podcast brought to you by the Veritas Project. And as always, we are here with our gracious host and founder of the Veritas Project, Robert Curtis.
Hello.
And I am lead investigator for the Veritas Project, Todd Boyer. And welcome everybody. Welcome back. And if you're new, hey, welcome to you too. So today, we're going to talk about past lives.
Yep.
And I have recently seen some new theories on that, and we're going to cover that and cover a few things. So, and Bob told me some stuff. We were talking pre that I didn't know, but apparently St. Louis is a big place for past lives.
Yeah, for past life regression. I watched doing the research for this, I watched a YouTube video where this woman from France actually flew to St. Louis because whoever the guy is that's here that does the hypnotherapy for past life regression is supposedly one of the best in the world. So I had no idea.
Things you learn doing research for your podcast. So there are a lot of theories out there, and we're going to cover a few of them, and we'll get into this thing. So the concept of reincarnation in various religions. In Hinduism, it's called the cycle of samsara, or rebirth and karma. In Buddhism, it's the belief in rebirth until reaching nirvana. Jainism, the soul's journey through multiple lives to attain liberation. Ancient Egypt believed in the afterlife and rebirth. And then, of course, Western traditions, we have the New Age beliefs and just the normal stuff.
Theosophy.
Yeah, theosophy.
The New Age beliefs, New Age people usually will incorporate a bunch of things into their... So they use like Buddhism and Hinduism and even Taoism and get those things, abstracts of all of that, and put it together into their own belief system. That's kind of what New Age means. It's like the gathering of new thought into a thing.
And that's something we encourage.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. We want you guys to learn a little, go down that rabbit hole, and come up with your own theory. So, Bob was speaking of past life regression therapy here in St. Louis, a big, the Mecca, I guess.
Yeah. Apparently it was the thing. I don't know.
So basically they use hypnotherapy to explore past lives, and the claims of healing trauma are linked to experiences in previous lives, controversies and skepticism, of course, right along with the scientific community. And then the role of suggestibility and imagination during these sessions tend to lay claim to it not being real, but there are cases of detailed historical knowledge recalled during these regression therapies. Yeah. So even though, it's the same thing, it's like we always talk about how there are proof out there, but they always like to hide the proof. You know what I mean?
Well, I always think that the past life regression, it's always a comedic thing for me, because nobody ever does the past life regression and finds out that they were like, a 14th century bedpan slave.
They're always somebody important.
They're always Charlemagne, or I was Queen Elizabeth the 64th or something. You know what I mean? Like nobody was ever like
I was Joe Bob the farmhand.
Right? Yeah. Like nobody was ever nobody in their past life. They were always like some extravagant thing. It's always weird to me that you would go through all this regression and find out that you were like some knight or something. You know what I mean? Like nobody ever finds out that they were like a ditch digger.
So we're going to give you a few examples of rabbit holes we want you to go down. We don't have a lot of information on them, but these are cases. Keep in mind as you're listening here to go back and check these out. There's a case of Shanti Devi in India who claimed to remember their past lives. The Pollock twins, a supposed reincarnation case in England. And Ian Stevenson's research on children's past life memories, which is a big thing. In fact, I just watched a video, and I believe I showed it around a few people. There is a video where this woman, she believes her daughter is her grandma.
Yeah, I sent
it. Oh, you sent that to me? Okay. So she shows this daughter a picture of her grandma, and she's like, "That's me."
Yeah, she's like, I remember this dress, she says.
And then she like touches the picture and then touches her face, and And the mom's like weirding out big time.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, because it's an amazing thing to see the emotion in the kid's face. It's like, it's wild.
Right.
It's
that little
wild.
girl knew exactly. As soon as she saw that picture, she's like,
she knew it was her. So.
I've always thought that my daughter was my grandmother reincarnated. I gave her a picture of her today, and you guys tell me what you think. This is the first time showing Arrow this picture. I want to see how she reacts. Who is that? She's touching her own face. What the fuck? Is that your... Arrow, who is that? Why were you just touching your own face? Is that yours?
Should I put this away?
Who is that, Arrow?
How?
So, the lack of empirical evidence supporting reincarnation and neuroscience explanation for memories and personality continuity, cognitive biases and memory errors as sources of past life claims, psychological motivations behind believing in reincarnation, and the cultural impact of science skepticism in traditional beliefs are all reasons why they believe that, you know, this isn't a real thing.
Yeah.
So
I watched a video where there was a lady and her child. He was a boy. I think he was like maybe 8 or 10, you know, in that range.
Mm-hmm.
And they were watching a movie, and he noticed a background character in this scene of a movie, and he's like, that was me. That was me in my previous life. And his mom was like, what? You know, she didn't believe any of that stuff, and he's like, no, that was me. That was blah blah blah, and she said a name, and then she got into a book. They had a book that had like information about them. I forget what it was. I want to say it was Gone with the Wind, but I don't know what it was. Mm-hmm. But anyway, this guy was a famous Hollywood producer, and he just happened to be on set that day, so they put him in the background
as an extra.
Of a movie, right? So the kid told her, he's like, I was really excited because this was like the first time that I had made like a lot of money, and I bought a house in Hollywood, and I was really excited because I was like, I made it, you know. And his mom was like, well, where was the house at? And he's like, oh, I want to say it was 601 or 30 whatever. And she looked it up, and that was the house's number.
Holy crap.
And then he told her he went to the car dealership and paid cash for a yellow convertible, and he was so excited that he actually didn't have to finance anything. He just went in and gave them cash money and drove off with the car. And this video on YouTube went viral, you know, with like Slapped Ham or one of those things. And the guy had passed away, obviously, if he's reincarnated, you know, but his daughter was still alive. So the daughter reached out to the mom and was like, hey, this kid is saying that he's my dad, and I would like to talk to him to debunk this whole thing, make it go away.
Right.
So she talked to the mom, you know, instead of talking directly to the kid, you know, she talked through the mom because the mom was protective, you know. And she was like, what kind of car was it, you know, that he had? And he was like, oh, it was yellow and green, and it had the top that went down, and I kept it in the garage all the time, and I only drove it when it was sunny and everything. And the daughter freaked out because she's like, legit, he kept that car even after it stopped running, like in the 90s. It was completely broken, but he kept it in the garage because it was the first thing that he had ever bought with cash money. He didn't have to finance it, so he was so proud of it. He would open the garage up and show people, like, here's my 1943 Hudson that I bought, or whatever it was, you know, that I paid cash for, and it was like his prized possession. And that little kid knew the house number. He knew the daughter's name. This little kid knew her name. He's like, oh, are you talking to blah blah blah? And she was like, what? Like this, he knew everything about this guy's life, and there's no possible way you could tell me that some random kid watched Gone with the Wind or whatever and picked out a background character in it and then just knew that guy's whole life.
Right.
It's impossible that kid would have been exposed to his address, the kind of car he drove, his daughter that they'd never heard of's name. You know what I mean? Like it's out the whole orders of magnitude of numbers of odds. You know what I mean? Like there's no possible way that could happen.
If you don't believe in past lives, you gotta listen to this. Even if you do believe them, you gotta listen to this. So this kid right here, his name is Ryan Hammond, and he holds the world record for the most facts known about a past life. And these are gonna blow your mind. So when Ryan was about 4 years old, he started having nightmares, and he was recalling memories about being a Hollywood actor. Now, this kid was born in Oklahoma. He was saying things like he was concerned about his adopted son and that he was an actor in Hollywood. He had this fascination with sunglasses. So his mom goes to the library and like really investigates all this stuff and finds this guy's picture. It was a book about movies from the 1930s, and she actually finds this one, and her son points at this guy and says, "That's me." And he identified a bunch of other people. It was like a scene from a movie. And this guy there was no information on. He was not even listed on the caption of the picture, so mom had to do more digging. And she found out that his name was Marty Martin, and that he indeed had adopted sons and had a fascination with sunglasses, and that he was a Hollywood actor. This kid said about 55 things that were confirmed true by his family, by Marty Martin's family. It's stuff you wouldn't be able to look up or know. He knew that Marty had bought his daughter a dog and that she didn't like the dog. How would he know that? It was all true. The daughter confirmed it. The craziest thing that he said was this. He said that Marty had died when he was 6. Well, everyone was like, no, actually, gotcha. He died at 59. Not true, because they looked up birth records and he was going by being 59, but he was actually 61 when he died. My podcast episode this week, I deep dive into all this. I go even further. My question is, do you believe in past lives? Do you have past life memories? And my theory is that empath auras, people that lead with their turquoise, blue, indigo, or purple aura, have a better chance of recalling past life memories than those that lead with non-empath color auras.
We always say that, energy goes somewhere.
Right.
You know what I mean? The energy, does our energy move on to another person, in the womb or whatever when someone's being born? Or
right.
do we move on to an afterlife and then come back? Do we choose to come back right away, or does it automatically restart us?
Yeah, it's like a
like
a loop.
Yeah, is it a loop that we continue to come back?
You die in the hospital bed, or whatever,
and then you move on to a womb.
Next second, you're being born down the hallway.
Yeah, I mean,
like, man, still here, still in St. Louis. Damn it.
So the role of karma in reincarnation, karma is basically a moral law governing future rebirths. So the more of an asshat you are, the worse you come back.
Right.
So the better off you are, the better you are as a person, the better you come back.
They believe there's an order of magnitude, and then like human is the top of it. So before you can achieve enlightenment and go to the what do they call it, the nirvana. Before you can achieve nirvana, you have to figure it out at this plane, because this is the top. But if you're an idiot in this one, then you're going to get knocked down.
Yep.
So then you'll be like a squirrel in the next life, or you'll be like a garden slug or a moth or something. And then after you work your way back up to human, you have another chance at it. So.
So they're actually going for moksha, which means liberation. And that's what you're looking for, is that freedom from the karmic cycles, so that you can move on to nirvana.
Yeah.
And, debates on the deterministic nature of karma, versus free will. So, what you do here, is it free will or is it not?
Right.
So deja vu actually plays into this. They believe that maybe the instances of deja vu are memories of your past life. You did something in a past life that was really similar to that.
Right. So
that's where we get the claims of deja vu. And the thing is, where do you draw the line between imagination and, you know, memory or a past life phenomena? You know what I mean?
Right.
Is it something maybe that was close in your previous life? Is it maybe something you even dreamt about
Right.
at night? Because I know in my personal experience, there's been times where I've dreamt, not a lot, but like 3, 4, 5 times in my life where I've dreamt something and then it happened months later.
Right.
Months later. Like even years later in one case. So, you know, is deja vu, you know, is it with the dreams? Is it past life? Is it, you know, previous memory?
Well,
what is it?
The quantum immortality theory, I'll blow your mind on that one. Because
which is what we're going to get into now.
Let's say you're with another person, right? And you experience deja vu. In the quantum immortality theory, it's because you were the other person that you're with in that experience in a past life. So your experience and knowledge and the time that you know changed your perception as a person,
right?
Because you're them in that past life. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But now on this life, your childhood experiences and knowledge have changed your view so that you don't recognize yourself. You know what I mean? Because you're slightly different. But when you those two experiences meet up, like you're walking past somebody and you're like, wow, I have deja vu. It's because you were that other person in a past life. And now on this timeline, you're the other person, but you're actually, your consciousness is existing in that same space at the same time. You're just passing yourself in through the lens of a whole different life.
So that's our big one to wrap things up here is quantum immortality theory. So the baseline of quantum immortality theory is at the point of your death, you end here, but your consciousness switches to another timeline where you're still alive.
Right.
So that's the belief of quantum immortality theory. But my thing is what happens that you don't actually die until all your quantum life chains are gone.
Or it resets.
Yeah.
The timeline resets and then you start over again.
So.
Yeah. Because basically what happens is, like, say you fall asleep while you're driving and you drive off the road and you're killed, your consciousness shifts to the next timeline where you didn't fall asleep.
Yep.
So then you just drive past the accident scene and continue on to your day.
Which then you may have deja vu.
Right.
Which maybe that's a theory for deja vu.
It could be.
Is at some point you died.
Over.
Yeah, at that point you died for some reason and you flipped into another consciousness at that moment, and that's why you go, oh wait, I've been here before.
Right.
Maybe you passed previously to that point.
Right.
You know, or maybe there's like a little, like a rewind. Maybe you had a heart attack and passed away, but then when they shifted you over, there's like a 30-second rewind to give you that deja vu.
Right.
As you pass into the next.
Or one of those little, like I call it, like a micro inconsistency, like where you set your keys on the counter and then turn around to grab something and you go back and the keys aren't there.
Right.
Well, that could be because you turned around and had a heart attack, and then now you're on a different timeline and you didn't set your keys down there.
Right.
You left them on the nightstand. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So those little micro inconsistencies can also explain quantum immortality theory, because then the reason why your keys weren't where you just set them down, or the reason why...
Because your other you didn't set them there.
Because in this timeline, you didn't set them there. Right.
Right. And there's... I just derailed my train of thought. There's the other theory, like when you walk into a room and you forgot what you went into the room for.
Yeah.
You went into the room and there's an alien in the room, so the alien had to erase your memory.
Right.
Or a watcher or whatever, they had to erase your memory because they were in the room. They were in the room watching, right? they were in the room watching you from the other room, and you went into the room and you caught them, so they erased your memory so they could leave.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So you were standing there like,
down the rabbit holes
wait
we
a minute,
go.
what did I come in here for?
Yeah. Exactly. So. So the quantum immortality theory is based on the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. Okay, so quantum mechanics believes there's an infinite number of worlds.
Yeah.
The idea that consciousness continues an alternate universe after death, the role of Schrodinger's cat, thought experiment is an illustration in quantum mortality consciousness as a selector among infinite possible outcomes. So philosophical implications and never truly experiencing death.
Yeah.
So Schrodinger's cat is, there's a cat in a box, and it could be alive or dead, but until you open the box, it's alive because you don't, it's both.
Right.
So you don't know, it's in two states at once because you don't know.
Right.
Is the whole thing behind it.
Yeah, the Schrodinger's cat is one of those things that I always tell people, like, you have to meditate on that and understand Schrodinger's cat before you can think about expanding your mind to other things, because that is really the key that starts your mind into understanding how quantum anything works.
Right.
Because the idea that until you observe it, every possibility is on the table.
Right. Which again falls back into the Matrix paradox with the firing the protons through the slits in the box.
Right.
Which, we've talked about this several times on here.
Yeah.
You fire protons through two slits in a box, and they make lines on the wall. But it's only organized if you're observing it, whether you observe it with a camera or you observe it with the naked eye.
Yeah.
If you do not observe it, the protons are everywhere.
Right, it just scatters through the slit.
It's like they don't exist. The wall doesn't exist unless you're actually observing the wall.
Right.
So,
but the minute that a person watches it, then it makes two perfect lines of the photons hit the target and make two perfect lines. But if no one watches it and you leave it alone for the weekend, it'll be a scatter shot of just photons hitting the target everywhere. But even if you record it with a camcorder or you stream it with a camera or even use a Polaroid to take a picture,
any way of watching it except for detecting where the photons hit.
Right. Anything that you use to observe it changes the outcome of the experiment. And scientists, that's what my favorite thing is. Whenever scientists are like, well, ghosts can't exist, I always bring that up. I'm like, well, how does this happen? Well, that doesn't have anything to do with it. No, it does, because your perception of an event alters the event. How can that happen in science? Like, it can't, right? Because if you leave the room and let the experiment run, it should have the exact same outcome than if you're watching it, but it doesn't. So how does that happen, right? That's a good way to derail your Stephen Hawking people that want to be,
no such thing as ghosts.
I don't believe in any of this stuff. Well, how does this happen? And then here they go. Boop. I just pushed your train off the tracks.
So the physical implications of quantum immortality, the nature of identity. Is consciousness constant across parallel worlds? The ethical considerations of eternal existence. Right? Like, should man be eternal? I mean, or is man eternal even? So, is it free will? We'll go back to that one. Is it free will, or just we determined to live new lives over and over again? And this also challenges linear time. Because if all these timelines are going at the same time, we have every possibility possible,
Bobby asked, how would you know that, though, if you're not watching it?
They register where the photons hit.
The target records where the photons hit on
But if you actually try to view it physically, like optically, watch the experiment, like he said, with a camera or your eyes, then it
makes two perfect lines.
Yep. So.
But if you just leave it run for a couple days and don't enter the room at all, then when you come in, it looks like an explosion.
Yeah, look it up. It's fantastic.
It paints the entire target.
Bobby, if you wouldn't mind following me too down here. Bob and I both put out stuff. We are part of the same paranormal group. Bob's the founder and the lead man. I'm the lead investigator. And we're going to be doing Investigation Live on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Freaking awesome.
Yeah, we're going to show you guys the side of the limp that you don't usually get to see, because you have those tour leaders that show you what they want you to see. Yeah. And they're like, do this, and then we're going to leave you for half an hour to do this, and then you...
No, we're going to have a good time.
Yeah, it's going to be cool.
So, So the critiques of the quantum immortality, the lack of direct empirical evidence, obviously, for parallel universes.
Yeah.
But like we always say, we know 1/10 of 1/1,000,000th of 1% of what is out there in the
Right.
universe, right? We know not. The only true knowledge is to know that you know nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So, obviously, philosophy has counter arguments regarding the continuity of self and the afterlife. The problem of conscious branching across multiple realities, and then the potential conflict with established laws of physics.
Right.
So, and the distinction between theoretical physics and speculative philosophy. So, you guys got to remember that 99% of our science is theories.
Yeah, it's all theory.
It's a answer. It's a possible answer. Until it is proven 100%, it is a theory. It is a possible answer.
Right.
Right. And it may be somebody took one section of something and went, oh, I can prove this over and over again. But it's still a theory in the grand scheme of things, because that might not be the way it really works behind the scenes. What we're seeing up front may not be what's running in the hard, the software in the background.
Yeah, exactly.
So and the software of reality.
The theories always change too. Like, we know now that Einstein's theory of relativity was like set in stone.
Right.
Until we started using telescopes to look further into the universe and find out that it's not.
Yeah, and then they're now looking at having to rewrite history because of the things that they are seeing with the new telescope out into space, of things that shouldn't be there.
They shouldn't be able to exist.
Yeah, along with, Einstein's theory of relativity.
Right. Because in relativity, matter can't exceed the speed of light squared, right? It's like that's the universal constant, and it isn't. Because now we've seen where matter can actually outrun the speed of light, that light can bend.
Yeah.
'Cause the reason why you can see...
And space-time can bend.
Yeah.
Because the planets don't actually... I hate to say it this way, but the planets don't actually have a gravitational pull in space. They actually form a well of space. They warp space-time. Planets warp space-time.
Right.
So for you to come to a planet, you will start getting drawn into the warp. So if you want to go around a planet, you have to go way around, because the warp of space-time will actually make, even though it's a shorter distance, it'll actually make the travel longer, because the way space-time is warped.
Right. You
kind of dip into the gravity well. So you have to go around it, and it's
yeah.
Blows your mind, guys. Do your own research. We always encourage everybody to do their own research. Like,
sometimes I'll get into the search, like DuckDuckGo search, and then just like for hours, just
rabbit hole.
How did this go to here? And then I'll go there and read this, and then go there and read this, and then you're like, 2 hours later, you're like, my head hurts.
Go down those rabbit holes.
But they showed light bending during the eclipse that we recently had, because it was perfectly lined up with the moon, and you could actually see like those little coronas that come out around the moon are because the light actually bent in its travel because of the gravity of the moon.
Well, and then they were talking about what are the odds that where we are currently, right, the distance from the moon and the distance from the moon to the sun and the size of the moon, the odds of it being an exact perfect size of the moon behind the sun is exactly perfect.
Yeah.
What are the odds of that actually happening? Because I think it's like, I don't remember, I think it's something like it's 40,000 times or 400,000 times. The moon is like 400,000 times smaller than the sun, but then also the sun is 400,000 times further away than the moon is, or something like that, right? It's in direct correlation. The size and the distance are in direct correlation with each other,
right?
And that's how come we get these perfect eclipses. And it's like, these things just blow your mind.
The way that the Earth was I don't want to say designed, but the exact way it's created is that so that, like, let's say a meteorite has proteins on it, right? The proteins can land in a tidal pool, And then because of the tide that's created by the rotation of the moon, it dries, gets wet, dries, gets wet, and salt water has electricity in it inherently.
Right.
So that it breaks down the DNA of those proteins and then allows them to recombine into something else and then build structures. And then it's like it was designed to create life. Like it was built for that purpose.
Well, here's one, speaking of tidal pools, here's one that's going to blow everybody's mind. The water doesn't go in and out.
Yeah, it's pulled
The
up.
water is pulled by the moon,
Yeah.
and the Earth actually rotates in the bubble of water.
Right.
So the water itself does not move. The Earth moves into the lower and higher areas of water.
Right.
So the water doesn't actually
the
move
moon
in and out.
is pulling it up.
Yep, the moon is
gravity
pulling
of
the
moon.
water.
Yeah.
And it's... Let that one sink in for a minute.
Like I say, well, once you get into quantum physics, it changes everything about your life because you'll never look at anything the same again.
Nope. So we got a little rabbit hole there, like we always do. But
Right.
So definitely do the research yourself, guys. Go look into past life experiences, because there are a lot of things out there that people have shown that they remember their past lives and are accurate. There's a lot of stories out there that are like that.
They're incredibly accurate.
And so definitely go down that rabbit hole yourself. You know how Bob and I do it. We'll dip our toe so you guys can
Right.
get interested and go jump in the pool yourself and check it out. I guess we don't really need that, but oh well.
Yeah.
Changes the lighting a little bit.
That yellow.
So thank you guys once again for joining us on the podcast. We will be back next week. We'll figure out what we're going to do before we head off here. We'll make a little video about what we're going to do next week. We'll figure that out. Actually, next week will be stuff from the Lemp Mansion.
Yeah.
So we will be
we'll-
recording a Q&A session at the Lemp Mansion. And then we'll be actually doing our live investigation. And I guess the following week we'll have the wrap-up at the Lemp Mansion. So we'll have 2 weeks where we'll
Right.
go through it.
Have the walking tour of the mountains too. So,
Yeah, we can do the Cahokia Mountains. So we actually could have three episodes worth of stuff out here. So we wouldn't mind revisiting the mountains. I think we did our 4th episode almost a year ago on the Cahokia Mountains. So it'd be nice to have a new one. So make sure you bring the dead cat for the microphone.
Yeah, I got it.
So
It'll
we
be
will.
fun.
Yep. So thank you guys once again for joining us. Remember, if you want to send Bob an email, it's the Real Veritas Project at gmail.com. I'm Investigator Todd. Investigator.todd.paranormal@gmail.com. All our social medias, RS Curtis or the Real Veritas Project, and I'm Investigator Todd on everything. And don't forget to sign up for the Patreon, which we need to send out another postcard probably.
Yeah.
Probably getting close to time. Send the paid Patreon members, we send a postcard every month. And down the road, there may be some extras coming in because Bob and I are going to make some little figures.
Yeah.
I got onto Hero Forge and made figures for us, so we'll download those and maybe send those out to the paid Patreon members. So thank you for joining us once again, and we'll catch you next Sunday. And remember,
Stay curious.
and find the truth, and we'll catch you guys next time, guys. Have a good week.
See ya.